Speak your truth. We are here with Whitney Ashley, Olympic track and field runner. How you doing, girl?
Track and field discus thrower.
Oh, discus thrower. My bad. Oh, throwing the discus.
You want to start over? If you want to start over, you can. I don't want you to feel embarrassed about that.
I mess up all the time. Shoot, you ain't embarrassing me. It's called speaking your truth. So if I start over, I'm not being truthful. I'm showing people, you know what I'm saying?
Respect.
You ain't gotta be perfect. I ain't Jesus. You ain't gotta be perfect. How you doing though?
Amazing. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. I'm happy to have you. So tell me about the discus, because my high school coach, the high school track and field coach, he wanted me to do that. But I was, I didn't want to try another sport. I was really good at basketball. I didn't want to be embarrassed if I was bad at another sport. But I'm kind of also glad because, what do your shoulders feel like? Are they okay?
Very strong. It's really interesting. The discus throw is actually the event I feel, all the throwing events that is more of a finesse and definitely a dance. Okay. Very rhythmic and a lot of patience. You can't power it out. It's not your typical Frisbee throw, even though I like to joke with people and I call it the Frisbee throw, but it's definitely not. It's not an arm event at all. Your arms really are just for balance and to deliver the discus out into the air. But other than that, it's all legs and a lot of mental aspect to it for sure.
Most definitely. See, I would have never known. I thought it was definitely shoulders, upper you throwing, but that's where our power comes from, is our legs. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you even became the Whitney Ashley you are today.
I grew up in California, Riverside to be exact. And I actually grew up from a basketball family. So I played basketball, oh my goodness, from a very young age up until I was a senior in high school, essentially. And, but in the meantime, to go back, my mom used to take my brothers and I on walks every night when we were younger. She was just big on fitness. And so one evening we were at a local track and we saw a whole bunch of kids in a very organized looking, they were running and stretching. And she was just like, yo, how do I get my kids into this? And, long and behold, it was actually a youth track team. At the time, it was called Team World, run out of Riverside. And she said, I need my kids in this. It's organized. It looks fun. This is their age group. It's healthy. And we just had all the upsides to it. And so we joined. My brothers did not last long. I think they did like 2 track meets, but I fell in love. I was a little thicker at the time, so I wasn't eligible to run. So they kind of pushed me to the shot put. Mm-hmm. And that's really where my story began. I started throwing shot put at the age 10. My first year went to my first junior Olympics. I was winning, and that kind of wrote my story. From there, I threw all the way till I got to high school. My mom coached me on that youth team. Fun fact, they didn't have a shot put coach. So she went to different kind of clinics and she read books and she taught me how to throw the shot put from age 10 all the way through high school.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's some real mother love, man.
Yeah, she's amazing. And then I learned how to throw the discus in college. So that's a whole nother story as well. That's where, I guess the kind of what I'm known for, but it definitely a late bloomer in the sport for sure.
So how was that transition first and foremost? And then did that become your thing? Did you want that to be your thing, or did you miss what you did in high school?
I fought the discus for so long. I didn't understand it. It didn't come natural to me. I don't know. I don't think I'm that great of a dancer. So that when I was telling you it's very much a rhythmic event, I just thought this doesn't make any sense. I wanted to just throw it. Shot put for me is very angry. It's a controlled anger, but you can really get after it. If you try that with a discus, it's not going to go anywhere. You have to remain composed at all time. I didn't like that. I just go, if I'm lifting all these weights, why can't I be upset? Why can't I be angry? And so I struggled for a long time, but for some reason it kept giving me success and showing me that give me a chance. And that got me a scholarship to Diego State University. I went on to also represent the United States track and field team on 3 global championships and Olympic Games in 2016.
Congrats, man. That is awesome. That's so dope, man.
Thank you.
Tell us about that experience. Did you train at the facilities out in Colorado, or were you at home most of the time? And then what was it? Huh?
You've done some research. I actually trained at the Chula Vista Training Center.
Okay.
That is where my coach was stationed at the time, or based out of. And so I trained there from 2013 to 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, on Chula Vista. Amazing facility. If you ever get a chance, they do tours. I know COVID's a little shaky, so I'd wait a little longer, but they do tours there for you to just kind of get out there and explore it. You never know.
That's awesome, man. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
You trying to play me talking about I did my research.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, most people will ask, oh, where did you train? They don't look up like, oh, there's facilities for track and field athletes. And I actually want to double back on the training facilities and how imperative it is in track and field. 50%, I want to say more than 50% of track and field athletes live underneath the poverty line. I say some don't even touch $15,000 to $10,000 a year and are top 10 and 20 in the world. So for you to live at these training facilities, you get a bed, you have food, travel is pretty much covered, transportation to and from the airports. Not only that, you're surrounded at all times by athletes who are in line with your goals. Everyone wants to be an Olympian. Everyone wants to win a medal. So everyone's hungry, and you don't have to you push yourself, but there's so much support around you. And that's what I really, really enjoyed about Chula Vista and living there for so long. It was the atmosphere and the athletes that were there. The days that you don't feel like it, I told people you can't rely on your emotions. They are too hit or miss. Yeah. You have to be driven. You have to be goal oriented so that you see the end goal has to always kind of be in your mind or where you can see. And so when you're standing next to a Will Clay, who is a triple jumper, and oh my God, I don't know how many medals he has, or a Brittany Reese, who has like 10 global medals, 13 global medals, you go, man, I'm standing next to greatness. I want to push myself every day. You're reminded why you're getting up in the morning, why you're tying your shoes. So
how did you, when you were standing next to those people, especially the other females that you may have been competing against, how did you keep your confidence and your self-awareness? Like, yeah, they may be good, but this is me and I do my thing. And this is what I do well.
Much of my career, I didn't. And I think that's what held me back for a long time. I always felt very small. I felt weak, which I was. I did not believe in weightlifting for a long time. It took me a long time to get sold. I remember a coach telling me, he said, the day that you decide to take weightlifting a little more seriously, you're going to win some shit. And I always held on to that. And I said, okay. And but yeah, I had low confidence most of my career. And it wasn't until I made the Olympic team, which is really crazy, which is pretty much halfway through my career, I thought, I do belong here. I'm an Olympian now. That's the magnitude of that new title that I was able to carry for the rest of my life. No one can ever take that away from me, no matter the performance result.
Yes.
I knew that I had joined a special class of people. And so that meant something, that I had some type of talent. Yeah. And that transformed my mindset again for the rest of my days. I'm very proud. I'll remind people like, no, I'm an Olympian. Really? It's nice because it was not easy.
I just told somebody yesterday, like, I'm proud of myself because he was downplaying, having two jobs. And I was like, bro, like there are people who don't even want to work one job and you holding down, you are a Black man. Like there are so many things against you. Like it's okay to say you proud of yourself sometimes. But I'm the same way. It's okay when you have accomplished so much and also have been through so much. And for you, like you said, overcoming those confidence issues and then still being able to be an Olympian, like you should brag a little bit sometimes. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I can appreciate that for sure. What was it like when you were there actually at the Olympics competing? What was that whole experience like? Because most people don't know. We just see y'all on TV competing, but we don't know what is going on behind the scenes.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. To this day, I go, I can't believe I went and competed. It takes me looking at my pictures from the Olympic Games going, I was really at the Olympics in 2016. The opening ceremonies, I remember walking into the stadium and looking around going, holy cow. I had my blazer on and it just, my official stamp. And I just thought, this is incredible. Unreal. Honestly, it's a feeling you can't really explain. It's a true high.
That's real. Do you still have all
Yeah.
your stuff, like all your
Oh,
blazers?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's dope, man.
Anytime I do speaking engagements, I wear that blazer proudly.
Talking
So
about,
it's
yes,
the only time I get to wear it. Yeah.
I love it. So speaking of the Olympics, I didn't know this until I went to your page, do a little more research, find out more about you as a person. What happened this year? You said that you were left behind. What happened?
Unbeknownst to me and a lot of athletes, there was a rule change in team selection. From what was explained to me was having Olympic standards. So there's like they put marks out in distances and times every championship and Olympic Games that an athlete can attain, which gives them an auto qualifying mark, if that makes any sense. Okay. And so I achieved this distance that was considered an auto qualifying mark. So meaning when I got to the US championships, AKA Olympic trials, if I was the top 3, meaning I didn't have to be top 3, but I was in the top 3 with the qualifying standard in the receding order at the final, I would go to Tokyo. That has always been the rule of thumb since I've been an athlete. I don't remember when that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so I cried, I hugged my coach, I was congratulated, and then I got a phone call saying, you're not going because you're not in the top 32, regardless of having a standard. We're going to take a girl who doesn't have a standard, but is ranked higher than you in the world.
What sense? I'm gonna let you finish.
So that was like, yeah. And that it wasn't just me. And yeah, it was just been a fiasco, to be honest with you. I'm over it now, but it just took a long time to process because that was very imperative information going into the championships. I feel like it was silently changed. It should have been reiterated, I believe, through the entire process. Hey, just a reminder, this is the new team selection process. Just lack of communication, but I don't expect anything less from this organization that I represented. So, yeah.
So, before I say my opinion, how do you feel after you put all this work in, like you trained so hard for this moment, and then something that you can't control, it seems like it takes it away from you?
I have to remind myself that even when things don't make sense, there's a plan for everything, and everything happens for a reason. And that's the hardest thing. When things don't go your way, that's really a hard reality. People love to say it when things go the way. Everything happens for a reason. You say it went my way. When it doesn't go your way, you have to stand firm in that. That when you have to believe that when a door closes, another one will open. And I'm a firm believer in that. Of course, it took a few weeks to let it sting and to let it process that I wasn't going and how it happened. Just like, wow, I thought I did my job and, didn't work out that way. But once I got past it, I had to remind myself that what's for me will never pass me by. And if I was supposed to be there, I would have been there. Truly believe that. Yeah.
Man, so you are a woman of God, so to speak.
I am.
Yes, I can tell. Because that takes faith. Because like you said, to be like, okay, this is something I really want to do. I feel like I've prepared for it. You can say your whole life. You started when you were 10, and the door just, like you said, is shut. But to not fight it, and you still want to cry about it or complain or just whatever, you're like, no. If, like you just literally said, if I was supposed to be there, I would be. There is something else that is going to take place during this time. So that's beautiful to have that type of mindset. It's hard for me, and it can be the smallest of things, the very smallest of things. I almost shed a tear the other day because I wanted to get my hair cut, and I never had an issue with booking a hair appointment in my life. And my app, it just wouldn't work. I'm here at home on Wi-Fi, and I could not book an appointment. Somebody else was like booked up until next week. And I just said, forget it. Because one, I did pray to not get a haircut until I moved back to Chicago, because I'm in Ohio. Nobody here can cut hair. I'm scared my hairline gonna be way back here one time. And I also like getting my hair cut at home. I don't want to have to leave the house. I like doing, just getting groceries delivered, everything at the crib. And that costs money. So there are things I have to do to prepare to do that. And if I'm distracting myself with just wanting a simple lineup, then I'm taking energy away from what my goal is, which is to not get a haircut till I move. And that's something, again, that's so small, but to me it's big because I'm big on self-care and stuff like that. But rejection, paying other people money when I could be using that money to do ads for your episode and other episodes, it's little stuff, but also big stuff like what you are going through. So I commend you, and I hope, like you said, you stand firm in that forever, because that ain't easy.
Absolutely.
How tall are you?
5'8".
5'8". So
People think I'm like 5'10". I'm like, no, I'm not even that tall at all. I'm actually a very short discus thrower.
you look tall. I thought you was 5'10" too, honestly. I feel like I also saw that like on your little profile or whatever, maybe, but I could be tripping. So you still consider tall though for a woman, right?
I'm still considered tall. I'm running with that.
So being a tall, dark-skinned Black woman, and you strong. Like I saw your pictures, you strong. A little stronger than me. Did you ever have identity or body image issues, or do you now, if you're comfortable talking about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I mentioned that I fought getting stronger and being in the weight room. I fought into it, and my success definitely took off. But as I saw my shoulders grow and fill out, as I saw my back fill out, I wasn't happy. I always had this thing, I don't want to look like a man, and oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to fit clothes, just vain reasons, until I realized, I don't even know what day it was. One day I just go, screw this. It's beautiful. It shows how hard I've been working, and that I'm involved in something that most people even don't understand. And it became a thing. Once I got confidence, I started getting compliments like, God, I love your shoulders. I wish I had those shoulders. Like, you look so strong. You lift weights. Man, I wish I could lift like that. And I just go, yeah, I'm an anomaly. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So, but again, that took a lot of maturity, self-love, and a reminder that, again, I'm training for something that a lot of people cannot say they've ever would even have a chance to be involved in. For the Olympic Games, I think that's definitely worth some broad shoulders and a wide back. That's worth it, Come on, Whit.
You feel me? You can live with that. That's crazy. And I think like track and field, any event on the track or on the field, like I think that's like the coolest. That's all I watch. Sometimes I watch soccer a little bit, but I love watching y'all. Like that's the dopest thing to me, man. I think that's
appreciate that.
Yes. How did you get comfortable with your skin complexion, or were you ever uncomfortable with it?
It took me up until 30 years old,
Wow.
which was only 2 years ago, to literally look in the mirror and not wish that I was a different skin color. It started when I was younger. See, a lot of the lingo has changed, but actions haven't changed. So I was kind of aware of things very early. So most of my cousins are mixed, very, the classic lighter complexion, curly hair, pretty eyes. And my brothers and I were on the darker side. And when I was little, I didn't understand, but I knew that when we go places, like other kids would draw to them. Or we went to summer camp together. So we're all very close in age. And we would go to summer camp, and I'd always get that's your cousin? You guys are related? Like, what's her name? Never interested in what I had going on. It was like, I want to talk to your cousin. I want to talk to the light-skinned girl with the curly hair, And so I didn't take offense to it for a long time. I just started to process, okay, there's differences here. Kids weren't as brutal back then. Now it's like, they, how it could be. Back then, not so much. It was just kind of like, I want her. It wasn't a light skin, dark skin per se, if that makes any sense. It's just now that people are a little more bold about it. But you can see people kind of gravitate back then to kids that were lighter. But I didn't understand it at first.
Exactly.
As I got older, it got a little more brutal out there. I started to get I would say middle school, I started to get, you're pretty, but I don't date dark skinned girls. And I was like, oh, there it is. There it is. And what are you, 12, 13 years old? So it took that long. It wasn't like that when I was younger, but as I got into middle school, I was going, okay, now we're talking. Or, oh my gosh, the worst one. I remember telling a girl in class I had liked a boy. And I don't know what possessed her to go, so-and-so, Whitney likes you. And he looked back and he was like, ew, she's dark. We were the same shade. Again, I don't even have to reiterate that to you. And I'm just like, wait, we're the same shade. And of course, everyone laughed. And so I just, crazy. I started wearing black all the time. My wardrobe was very, very dark. And I actually wear contacts. So I when my mom allowed me to get contacts, or excuse me, I wore glasses, and I transitioned to contacts because I was playing sports.
Okay.
When my mom let me get contacts, I asked her if I can get colored ones. I wore brown contacts from age 15 to age 30.
Wow.
Why? I said, you know, if I'm going to be dark, I want to at least be the dark skinned girl with pretty eyes.
Wow.
And that's what I became. I was able to sell people on oh my God, they would see that I was chocolate, but they go, your eyes are so pretty. Like, you're the chocolate girl with the pretty eyes. And I go, that's what I wanted. So it took me till 30 years old. I remember calling my best friend and saying, today is the day I'm going to get clear contacts, and I'm going to wear my natural eyes the rest of my life. I'm not going to hide behind these contacts anymore. Yeah. And I still had a whole bunch left. Like, I threw the whole box away, ordered a new fleet, and I went clear. And it was freeing to see it was weird at first. I go, these are my eyes. Like, I didn't like them at first. And now I'm just like, I can't believe I even thought to wear them any other way.
Real. Yeah.
16 years.
That's what made you look in the mirror and say that, though? Because that's a long time, and people think like, oh, when you're in your 20s or you're in your 30s, you're supposed to have it all together and know who you are. But you are, first of all, brave enough. So thank you to even admit that. But what made you even wake up, at 30? That's still pretty young to me.
Growth and maturity. Again, continuing to roll with self-love and going, if you really love yourself, why do you feel you need to keep adding to your features? Why do you feel you need to change what's naturally been given to you? God has made no mistakes. And so I literally woke up one morning and I said, I'm done with these. And it was before my 30th birthday. And I said, I'm done with these. I'm done hiding behind these contacts.
Yeah.
And it was, again, freeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now
I still get my lashes done. I'm not giving up my lashes. Okay. But I gave up the color contacts 2 years ago. And if you go back far enough, there might be some on my Instagram, but I have so many videos that I'm like, I can't post this because I have brown eyes in here. It's not me.
Yeah.
I get so mad, like, oh my gosh, I get so mad at myself, like, ew. Oh. Yeah. Now that I see it, I go, why? So long.
So
yeah.
Different people now? Like when
absolutely.
You don't even recognize you?
I have no idea who that girl is.
Wow.
No, not me anymore.
That is
that
is deep. So how do you feel? You feel free, but like how else? Like what other, if you could describe it to people, that breakthrough, what words would you use?
Oh my gosh, besides the word free?
That might be, the best word you can.
That's the word.
Man.
Again, it's a feeling you can't describe until you make the decision for yourself. Because I truly think that explanation is going to be different from someone else. Yeah. My free could completely mean something different for someone else. But again, I guess I could describe a weight off your shoulders, or no more being self-conscious and truly looking in the mirror and not wanting to change anything, to me, is freedom. Where you go, some days you don't even want to do your hair and you go, I still look good. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like that's a different type of confidence. Even, it's a different type of confidence.
Especially as a Black woman, it definitely.
Yeah, when we have to always present ourselves accordingly when we leave our house, it's very calculated. We can't just be out here willy-nilly. We'll be judged. We could be followed in a store. Yeah. I can go into a store in some sweats and be followed and come back an hour later in a whole suit and get a whole different experience just because my appearance changed. Ain't that so, learning to deal with that and adapt accordingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, let's talk about colorism, and specifically in our own community, because lighter complected people, regardless of if they're Black, Hispanic, Latino, they get treated different from the darker ones. So you've already talked about your experience with it in terms of like at school and stuff. What about like on TV? Talk about that first, then we'll talk about in our own community. Like on TV, not seeing dark-skinned women. How does that make you feel, or how did that make you feel growing up?
You know what? I didn't pay attention as a kid once again. I didn't realize what was happening until I was older, and follow me on this. So coming up, I'm a little older than you, but we grew up with shows. You had Fresh Prince, you had the dark-skinned Vivian mom, and a Force. But a lot of times the dark-skinned girl in the show was the angry one. She never really had a leading role. But again, I wasn't processing like that. I'm like, oh man, she's crazy. And she'd make you laugh though, right? She was funny. She was that crazy homegirl, like, girl. ghetto a lot of the times. But until I got older, I go, wait a minute. You know, when you're a kid and you're just kind of enjoying TV, but as I got older, I go, why are we just in these pigeonholed roles? Like we're so much more than that. And that's why I grew to appreciate Aunt Viv's, even though she was just a mom on the show, how a pioneer she was for classiness. Remember, they were a wealthy family. They lived in Bel Air. She spoke eloquently. She was sassy, but in an intelligent way. She was very witty as well. She always looked good. And I go, that's what we need. I'm trying to think of the other show, Living Single. You had a little variety of all shades of women. And then Girlfriends was my favorite. And Tony Childs, that was my new representation of like the dark-skinned girl on screen, sassy, but again, had money, had a really, really good career, well-spoken. And again, I enjoyed those roles. But it wasn't until I got older, you know, as my education background grew, that I realized how sad and few far in between these roles come. And to this day, you'll see, even in music videos, we are almost non-existent, or we're way in the background or walking across the screen, as opposed to back in the 80s and 90s, you know, Black girls were a thing on television and not so much anymore at all. Now it's not even really Black girls, it's Latinas, or what do they call you? Racially ambiguous women is what they call them. They don't want to know what you are. Have you heard that one? They want, yeah, please look it up. Look for, a lot of times you'll see modeling careers or posting, they say, we're looking for racially ambiguous women. So they don't want to know exactly what you are. They just want you to kind of look mysterious, or what do men like to call exotic?
Oh, no.
Where it's like, what are you mixed with? Say it again.
That we the real exotic ones, not them.
Pretty much. Absolutely. And a lot of times these other women will change their features to mimic ours, and they're praised. I remember when we were coming up, I'm not sure the age group of this podcast, so I've been trying to keep it PG. Remember, women who had big lips coming up, they were DSL lips. And nowadays, you know, girls would try to, you know, dim their light with their lips because that was embarrassing. And now women are getting lip fillers.
Yes.
And there's no shame against that, but I just want people to know where all this started. Black women have been the blueprint. We have been the blueprint. Big butts. Again, it's like, oh, you got a big old butt, you know, we could put a cup on it. It was a joke. And now you have BBLs. You
feel me? Like what?
Where do you think that came from? You know what I'm saying? I just want people like, we are the blueprint.
Video, it was in the like 1950s or 60s, and it was some talk show, and the host asked the guests, there were some white, some Black, some Asian, why did white people envy Black people, or like why did they hate them so much? The question was, why do they hate Black people so much? And she answered, because the women are typically more beautiful. They have bigger features, more beautiful features. They have darker toned skin. Their hair is thicker. They can do this, they can do that. But why hate us? Just tell us we pretty, and then mind your own prettiness over there. It don't matter. Right. We all beautiful. You know, I mean, I'm saying that for the podcast because I got my own opinion about all that, but we all beautiful at the end of the day. But yeah, I was definitely shamed for having a big butt, especially for being a masculine gay woman. So I just now, when Megan Thee Stallion came out, now you can't tell me nothing. When her song comes
nothing, okay? Like, listen, nobody been throwing it on screen like her since the tip drill video back in the 90s. Okay, so kudos to Megan for just being herself, authentically true. Because I still do this. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm talking. That's the last time I've seen anything like that, moving like that on screen, was tip drill.
For real.
Now I'm really telling my age. People are like, what is that? Tip drill? Go look that up. It was a video with Nelly and the Saint Lunatics, and it took off. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say.
So I tell you how bad it was. It came on BET Uncut. So,
that's right. You could not watch that during prime time.
No.
No, ma'am. Nope.
Sleep. Got to sneak back downstairs, man. That's so fun. It was the days though, and you know, we talk about age and stuff. And when I was younger, I always thought that 28 was old. And now that I'm 28, I'm like, bro, I'm so
right.
Like, I got so much life to live.
The older you get, the more you realize you didn't know a damn thing. Like, to this day, I mean, you just continue to learn so much. And I'm like, man, and the things you started hearing your grandparents say, you start saying like, man, if I wish I would have known then, I would have done that. I'm like, man, I sound like my grandma now. it's a thing. Because truly your whole life is about growth. There's no blueprint to life. It truly is an experience. And I love this quote. It was after Nipsey Hussle died. You can't possess people. You can only, what'd you say? You can't possess people. You can only experience them. And I go, that is truly what life is. It's an experience. And so every day we wake up, we have new challenges, and it's up to us to make the best decisions we possibly can. And when we get bumps in the road, create new windows of opportunity for ourselves. And so, you're never going to know it all. To the end, you're going to continue to learn. And that's living to me. When you start learning it all, you stop having fun.
That's real.
When you know it all, you're not having fun. I enjoy learning new things.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Lifelong learner. That's how you stay young too. I might get that whole.
Hello.
You feel me? I'm gonna get that whole little quote tatted on me. That was.
Yeah, I believe it. Go look it up. It's what Lauren said at the funeral. She said, you can't possess people, you can only experience them.
I'm talking about everything you said after that.
Oh, thank you.
That was my sermon for Sunday, my at-home church. Shoot. We got off topic a little bit. Real quick, I want to talk about colorism in our own community, because we don't talk about that. We act like it don't happen. How would you explain that to people who does not believe it takes place within our own community?
That is a really good question. How would I explain that to people who really, that's not a thing. One, I'm gonna start there. I'm never gonna argue with someone who doesn't want to see the truth, because I truly, again, unless you are Caucasian, which there is no colorism for them, they're all the same color. But if you fall outside the Caucasian lines, you're a liar. If you don't see it in your own community. I've heard it from Polynesians. I've heard it from Hispanics, the ones that especially Hispanics can get very, very dark.
Yes.
And it's funny because they are Black, but that's another story. We ain't gonna get into that today. But yes, Negroid genes do run in their bloodline. But anyways, a lot of them I've seen them my shade, and they're Hispanic. They don't speak a lick of English. I'm like, wow, you're Black. Anyways, I've seen it in the Latino community, the Cuban community, you name it. I've heard it. Like, oh, it's because they're lighter. But people have to realize, this is where history comes into play. Nothing what we're experiencing now is, anything new or, fresh slice of bread, anything like that. This all goes back to Eurocentric ideals and slavery. Okay. You had the jokes back in the day, I'm the house Negro. And you hear Black kids saying these things younger, like, I would have been in the house. You would have been in the fields picking cotton. Yeah. And I go, how sick that is, because at the end of the day, we're both still slaves. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you may have gotten, you know what I'm saying? You may have been in a closer contact and got some nicer clothes and may not as whipped as much, or didn't have to bear the sun. But you also forget too, your skin color was a result of a slave being raped by a master.
Yep.
Let's talk about that too. So they were not, a lot of those light-skinned children were in the house because they were the children of a slave master. Yes. So I go, a lot of us, again, don't read. My mom told me, I come from a family of educators, and my mom used to say, you ever want to hide something from a Black person, put it in a book.
Yes.
We don't read, we don't know our history. A lot of us don't know our history. And I go, if we actually realize where all that stems from, I truly believe we'd cut it. We'd cut that shit, because it's ignorant. It really is. When you think how sick the mentality is, the paper bag test, and us actually living in this, like, I'm a house Negro, so I am better than you. And I go, that's sick. You are the result, again, of a beautiful Black woman in those fields being raped by a slave master. They were very, very much attracted to us. And they didn't care about making kids. They wanted a good time. We had beautiful features. Let's talk about it. You mean to tell me I own all these women as a slave master? They walk around with these voluptuous bodies, and I'm not going to try one?
No.
Like, think about how sick that is. And here you are celebrating that you're light skinned, and that's really where it stemmed from. It's sick.
That's deep.
Like, please, that's why I go, please educate yourself. So before I start hearing that, and I go, I get it. the thing is, and there's a difference between that, and I understand preference. Some people just tend to gravitate towards lighter people, but I need them to know where all that ideal stems from, that they're more beautiful than a woman who is darker shade. Because the same goes for me. I tend to gravitate towards chocolate men. You see the smile come across my face. I love a beautiful chocolate man. I'm not particularly attracted to lighter skinned men. There's nothing wrong with them, but so that's my preference. But at the same time, I have to be careful in what I deem better. There's no such thing. They're both beautiful in their own way. I just personally prefer chocolate for no other reason. That's where we also mess up. You hear a lot of Black men, not all. I said some, because I know people, that's not wrong, not like that. Some Black men are literally that vain and sick. I will never touch a dark skinned girl. Oh, I won't do this, I don't do that. She gotta be this, she gotta be that. And then when they get with this light skinned girl, they completely run Black girls through the mud and why they're not dating a certain shade. And I go, don't do that.
Yes.
Be with who you want to be with, because that's what you're attracted to and that's what you respect. But you better respect the entire us as a race.
Exactly.
No one else does that. It's only in the Black community that happens. And I go, you don't hear white men or any other, even Latinos, dating a certain type of Latino girl and then bashing the rest of Latina. It's just not really a thing. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I don't think it happens as much as it does in our community.
I agree. At least not publicly.
Sure.
You can get on Instagram right now and see it. And it's sad because, like you said, it typically comes from people who are darker than me, because I'm darker than you. So it typically comes from people that's men that are darker than me that are saying these things about Black women. And it is very sick and very sad. And I don't understand it, but it's self-hate at the end of the day, because
correct. I was just going to touch on that because it gets deeper than slavery. Also, I go, it's sick, but I go, you think about everything that they try to do to continue to destroy us. And they always knew that strength in numbers was going to be what put Black people back where they should be, which is in power and running things. We are inventors, we are creators, we are everything. We make the world go round. But to keep us apart, they had to find things that would continue to destroy us. And that was one of them. Besides getting the Black men out of the home, that's another thing. But how do we keep them separated? Mm-hmm. We have to create these superior complexes within their community. Light skin, dark skin, baby. That wasn't us. That was the white man that put that in our heads. That was not Black people. And I go, once we start to wake up, that's what people mean by stay woke, wake up. A lot of these things play into these spectrums in terms of how we identify and how we look at each other. We're all still kings and queens regardless of our shade. Know your history, please. Until then, and so we start closing these colorism gaps and trying to do up one another. We have a long way to go. We have such a long way to go, you know? We don't want to work with each other. And it's just like, it's a mess. But you know what? I still wouldn't want to be anything else. I have a great time being Black. My favorite quote, one of my other favorite quotes, I have so many quotes. I love being Black. It's a little dangerous, but it's lit.
They not lying, no.
It's a little dangerous, but it's lit. Yeah.
Best thing ever. I
love that. Yeah.
The way we move, the way we talk, how we sit in here like ain't never met before but through email, and we sit here kiki kaka like two aunties. Yeah. It's dope. And the way that we do so, like nobody else do it like us. Like we have, at the end of the day, what we call culture. We have it. Nobody else got it like us. And we are the culture. You feel me? And I really appreciate you saying all of that. And the most important thing that you said was to educate yourself. Like you said, read a book. I watch stuff on YouTube. I learned so much just watching people on YouTube, going back, like you said, learning our history. So what happened before slavery? Who was I?
Thank you. We are not just slaves.
Yes. Who was I before slavery? So I want to ask you, because I know that for me, my parents, and I'm glad that you also said that your parents were educators. I can tell by the way that you speak and the way that you carry yourself. I think that's really dope. And that's something I don't know if I'm gonna be a teacher or nothing, but in some sense of the word, be that for my children and be a role model in that sense, because it's so important. My parents didn't go to school. My mom, she's in school now, but they're very, very smart people. And they always taught me to love myself. My dad is darker than I am, and he always told me to love my dark skin. So at what point not like loving yourself or anything like that, but did you start to like learn this stuff and want to learn it and also want to teach other people? Because you just sat here and taught us something.
Hey, you got good questions. I'm gonna compliment you first. That was a lot. I feel like there's a lot of ways to answer that because there's a few questions in there. Okay. To start with, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm sorry, everybody.
Just speak your truth. We got time.
I feel like there's kind of a self-love question in there too. When you talked about, you said your dad was a darker complexion than you and then told you to love yourself, but so did my mom, and I did one ear and out the other. Oh. A lot of times you don't believe anything till it comes from someone else, but one, you have to believe it. People can tell you things till you're blue in the face. Yeah. If you don't believe it, it's gonna keep flowing out of those ears. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, and that's the part I struggle with in trying to, like, people are like, well, what do you do? And I go, you'll know, you will find your way. But a good way to start is affirmations. For me, I would just start saying anything. To be honest, for a long time, I couldn't even say I am beautiful without crying. Wow. I couldn't say it. I didn't believe it. I'd say it in a lower tone, like I'm beautiful. It was very like shy. Girl, when I tell you now, I be acting up. Okay, it's a real thing. I believe it now, and for real, it's a real thing. Yeah, the transformation of my mind and who I am and what I deserve. Mm-hmm. I go, listen, I know God did not put this masterpiece together for me to look up and go, why did you make me look like this? Well, I should have been like, sir, you didn't have to. Now it's like, you didn't have to do all that. You didn't have to do all that. Like, dang, it's a different mentality now. You have to do all that. But in terms of history, so to pivot a little bit, in terms of history, I just learned for myself, things just didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And that's where my mom comes in. She always said, question everything. Question everything. Even as coming from a Christian background, she said, that pastor up there, he's not God. I need you to know that right now. He's a sinner just like you. He's going to go home, make mistakes. He's going to continue to lie. Like he's not a perfect person. Don't put weight in that person. I'll never forget that. Because, a lot of people stop going to church because of a bad incident with the pastor and they forget. Mm-hmm. All they are is a facilitator. They are still sinners. They're walking this earth trying to figure it out. That is their job. That's it. Man. Once I got that mentality, my whole life changed and I wanted to know more. I went away from church for a long time because, again, it was fed to me and I needed to know what's really going on out here. I need to know my background and I want to know about Black people, this and that. I did come back ultimately because it works for me. And I don't push that on everyone. I go, you're still entitled to believe what you want to believe, whether you realize some truth at home or whatever. Girl, that's fine. But there are things that have happened in my life that I cannot explain how I got out of. And that is what brought me back to church. Yeah. Well, not church, I'm going to say God, because the church, no, but that's what brought me back to my relationship with God. That's all it really is. It's one-on-one. However connection whatever, again, people believe in, but things that happen to me where I go, nah, that wasn't luck. Or it happened again, something similar. And I go, I got out. I said, nah, that wasn't luck. Mm-hmm. No way. These are, again, faith is the absence of thing. What is it? Faith is the, what is that verse? Okay, you can delete this part because I don't remember it. But
faith is,
I can't remember it right now.
I'm gonna look it up.
Look it up. I don't want to mess it up.
It's so sad.
I'm embarrassed.
Explain it. I know me.
I always mess this one up. Faith is the absence of things seen.
King James.
Right.
This is Hebrews 11, verse 1 for the people.
Ooh.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
There you go.
Praise the Lord.
As you can see, y'all, that was a tough one to remember. Okay.
You're supposed to remember the quotes now. How are you gonna remember all these?
Listen, I told you I'm not perfect, but yeah. There's again things I can't explain, but it works for me. But even in my search and through my journey, reading I didn't want anyone to tell me about my history, especially ones that didn't look like me. Being in school and learning about the same things again, that always bothered me. Like, this can't be it. These can't be the only Black people that helped Black people. Like things like that would start to arise in my mind. Like, why are we still learning about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks? And then Malcolm X, but y'all hate him, but he really wasn't a villain. But we ain't gonna talk about that today. You know, and then, you know, I'm just like, why are we talking about the same people? Like, this can't be it. And that's really kind of where it got the wheels turning for me. Honestly, I'm not buying this. And those stories were changed so many times. So that is tainted history. I said, you got to read in depth on that and the Rosa Parks story and how she was actually not even the first person to do it. It was actually a little girl, but she didn't fit the image. And I learned that during last year's protest. And I go, where was that in the history books? Man, you have to read on that. Yeah. It just made sense publicity wise and for the news wise to use Rosa Parks, but a very similar instance had happened before that, but it made sense to go with the older woman kind of thing. And I just go, holy cow. Martin Luther King's murder, the mystery behind that. Oh, it's really not a mystery, but again, it's just so much. I go, this is all tainted anyway.
And they still do it now. That's the sad part.
Well, they're taking it out a lot of, since last summer, you know, everything that happened last summer, they're actually trying to get rid of Black history in schools. I believe parents, a lot in the South especially, are able to vote now. Their kids don't have to be exposed to Black history at all.
Oh my God. We need to go.
They have the choice.
Go back to Africa.
They have the choice, I believe, in some states. Like, your kid does not have to learn about it. They don't want them to know. They don't want the curriculum touched. They said, if you're going to change what we're already teaching, then I don't want them to learn about it.
But why though?
Because they know. They don't want to be, you know, they don't want to be put in a bad light.
You feel? No, they so pure and holy.
Right.
So perfect. Whitney, we're gonna do a part 2. Do you
I love that.
Yeah,
I am embarrassed about my Bible quote though. So I hope y'all forgive me for that. But you know, we out here, we learning, right? We learning.
You don't need forgiveness from God.
Growing, we're flourishing.
You feel me? We learning, like you said, learn. That's all that matters. Teach one. Is there anything else you want to talk about? You want to ask me? You want to give any advice to the listeners?
I was just thinking about something I could say to close this out, to be honest with you.
What? You being 32? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't have anything.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, you like did that whole, so anyway. All right, 32-year-old Whitney. What would you tell 16-year-old Whitney?
I think that's too old. I think 32 Whitney needed to speak to 10-year-old, 12-year-old Whitney. Those are very critical times. 16, like, you know, you're right in the middle of high school. I don't know. I feel like it's a little late. I needed things embedded sooner. Okay.
What would you tell that Whitney? If you were her coach or a teacher, mentor in some way, you were around her, what would you say?
A lot. If I could talk to a little, well, sometimes I think about these things. Like if I had like a little girl and I looked down at her and she looked just like me, right? My skin color, what would I feed into her? Without trying to create a perfect world or shield her from anything, but how could I protect her and instill confidence? Is one of my biggest things. I go, I don't think I'll ever be a mom. I don't think that'll happen, but I always think, what? No, I'm never having kids. But I always think to myself, if I ever did,
Oh, you don't know who is inside of you. It could be the next it could be the next female Black president. I mean, that's supposed to be me, but maybe it might.
It won't be me. It won't be from me. Oh my! Right now, gonna be from this cat. I will not be giving birth. But if I were to look down at a little girl, affirmations early. I didn't do affirmations until way later in life. But just trying to compare our skin and like, I want you to look at mommy, you know, you're beautiful. You were made on purpose. This is something that I learned way later, that I was made the way I was made on purpose. I was created on purpose this way. And I'm perfect. There's nothing, and that's hard to get across to a child. I understand that, but the sooner they hear it, the better. Yes. You know, Also, watching little jokes and stuff. Remember when we were kids and getting in the pool? Be careful out there, you're gonna get dark.
Yep.
Stop
Yep.
with the not compliments, but stop with the constructive criticism in regards to addressing skin color.
Yeah.
We have to stop that. Oh, girl, I can't be out here too long. I'm gonna get dark. There's always something wrong with that. Does that make sense? And I go, again, that's embedded in us, to think that darker is associated with anything bad or dangerous and things like that. So be mindful of that. I would never tell my kid. I've heard that when I was a kid coming from family members. Girl, you're gonna get blacker. You're gonna be black. You're gonna be black as night. And I go, well, now a child is conscious of their skin color now. Kids don't come out, they hear things, they're sponges. Exactly. And so now you have this child worried if they're going to get darker, and that's going to be a bad thing now. The biggest thing would be watching my words, and kids are cruel. Definitely. Kids are cruel. So doing the best that I can to validate their experiences. And when they come home, if anything were to happen, not, oh, you're going to be okay. How do they make you feel? And remind them of who they are and what they were created to be, I think is huge. That's the best way to, in my opinion, to teach a child, especially a Black kid. That's the best way. Please validate their experiences, because when they come to you the first few times and you don't, you're going to wonder why a lot of shit happened to them and they stop coming to you. Well, why didn't you talk to me about it? I'm sure we experienced that. We all have. Why didn't you come talk to me about it? I tried a long time ago and you invalidated my experience. Yes. Stop telling me I'm going to be fine, or I'm being dramatic, or I'm being a crybaby, right?
Yes. Girl, you about to make me go have some flashbacks. Yes.
So those are things I held on to. So I'm very, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of also why I don't want to be a mom. It's just, that's a lot.
I feel that. I guess that's why I want to be a mom, because of my experience with my mother. So like, I just want to, I'll probably honestly will overdo it, but just want to mother the shit out of my daughter, because, I still be wanting my mommy sometimes. I'm 28. And I feel like I can't just pick up the phone, like you said, and call her and talk to her about something, because of all the times she's invalidated my experience. You've had to hear her say things about my skin color, how thick and, long my hair used to be. It was unmanageable. It was too this. I wish your hair was more like the mixed girl at school. So I agree. I was going to ask you earlier, do you think that you would be you without your parents? But you pretty much just answered that with this, is that it starts with the parents. Be to your kids who you needed. Be to other children, if you are, working with kids, be who you needed when you were younger. So I definitely appreciate you saying that. You got anything else for us before we go?
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Always a growing experience, kind of hearing yourself talk sometimes about things and you go, man, there's pain there. Or I don't know, you just, a lot of self-reflection in podcasts. I truly enjoy them. I really do. So
most definitely. So we definitely gonna do a number 2 then.
For sure.
All right. So I'm gonna send you the link when we get off here, and then we're gonna play it. I appreciate you, Whitney. You super dope. I fuck with you. And I really, really, really appreciate you doing this for me today, especially on a Sunday. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right.